spurts. And it wasn't to start the game. We'll get into that in just a bit. All right, Houston has it 6 on the shot clock. Good defense. Fade away. Got it. Oh, what a dagger that hurts. 70 seconds to go. 63-59. That was garbage. Strong take. Jizzle. Missed it. Got his own. Did not get his own board. 50 seconds to go. What do? Do you foul? Do you let him run it down to 26 seconds? And it looks like they are going to not foul. Don't foul now. Shed, floater, that'll end it. Tip slam by Javier Francis, who's had 4 fouls for the last hour, it feels like. Cincinnati needs a bucket. Bad. Newman, spinning, fouled. Free throw line. 2 upcoming. You should have seen the studio about 15 minutes ago. First of all, we typically have the light. I usually look better than this, and I have the professional camera that hangs off the light. The entire thing just collapsed. Leaning Tower of Pisa went down. So this is what we're working with, and then you're wondering, all right, what happened to the graphics? Why are you guys on StreamYard and not vMix this time? I log into vMix, the computer freezes, I turn the computer back on, and all the inputs are gone. Graphics gone, everything gone. Probably could have set it up in time, but look, I'm watching the end of this game. I don't want to watch the end of this game. 6-point game. Newman misses the free throw. It's probably over. But we're going to talk about it. Houdini's courtside. Never say this is one you should have had against a team that's significantly better than you. But it's one they were in the game for. They had it down to 1 possession with, 90 seconds to go. Couldn't get the stops when they needed them. But holding Houston to 65 with 27 seconds left, not bad. Cincy needs a steal. 5-point game, 27.9 ticks on the clock. And they foul. 25 seconds to go. This should be 10 in a row against Houston. That's enough to put tears in my eyes. That's disgusting. Oh, Kelvin's holding up. He's holding up the intention. God, Kelvin Sampson. Don't get me started on this guy. Great coach, but what a shed. Jamal Shed's not the shed. He's a nice player. Kelvin's a shed. I thought Wes had a pretty good coaching effort in the second half, making the wise decision to not play Victor Locken, the hard decision to not start him in the second half. Smart coaching. I mean, he was watching the same game that we were watching. Down the stretch, not a lot you can do, man. Houston it's a team that could win the national championship. And you went toe-to-toe with them for a little bit. Take away a horrific start down to the first TV timeout, where it was, I believe, 12-3. Cincy looked pretty good. And they may actually call intentional. And we could be here for quite some time. So assuming Cincinnati loses this game, and welcome everyone that pops in, 25.3 ticks on the clock, Houston 65, Cincinnati 60. If Cincinnati does lose this game, it makes Iowa State a must-win. It's as simple as that. You got to beat Iowa State. You can't lose your 4th Big 12 game at home. That's unacceptable. You're going to have to beat Iowa State. It's as simple as that. I think any Bearcats fan that was reasonable with a nice-sized brain would say that 1-1 against Houston and Iowa State would probably get the job done. You're about to be 0-1. Maybe the Walter Jinx comes into play. but you got to beat Iowa State. First things first, Cryer at the free throw line. He's 87% on the season. He's knocked down all 4 of them today. Spins, fires, missed it. Cincy has a shot. The Walter Jenks. Simas, you got to hurry. Jizzle. Hurry, Jizz. Right to the bucket. 1 possession game. Timeout, Cincinnati. We're alive. We never win these types of games. I just have to say, I can't remember the last time where, Cincinnati got this many breaks, down 5 with 20 seconds left, and came back and won a game. Anyone in the chat room, if you remember vividly a time they did that. But hey, give yourself a shot. It's all you can do. 1 timeout for Houston, none for Cincinnati. Houston is not in the double bonus yet. Not dead yet. Nick Kirby behind the scenes tonight, running singular. He's got the stuff updated on the bottom. Good to see you, Kirby. Sorry about your Xavier Musketeers tonight. Maybe a city of sadness in Cincinnati. It happens from time to time. We're used to it. Reds are going to change that, though, this upcoming season. Kirby, book it. You're going to have a lot of winning days, a lot more than I've had in the basement so far in Big 12 play. All right, and this is why, in baseball, okay, you start it in the 9th inning, you kind of know what you're getting into. This is why I hate going live. I'm supposed to go live at the under 4 TV timeout, but I'm going to be sitting here for 45 minutes by myself talking into a mic until Houdini, is on the floor after the court storm here that the Bearcats are about to have. But, I mean, good God, we've been live 7 minutes and 43 seconds. I went live with 90 seconds to go. So we have the real-time tracker here. 8 minutes of real time to get through 75 seconds. And that's why the Bearcats start every single game on ESPN News, because they don't allocate this stuff. I mean, come on now. Games aren't 2 hours nowadays. They're 2 hours and 20 minutes, apparently. All right, 14.4, full court press. Newman on the ball. Trap coming. Get him. Up ahead. Slam. That'll do it. 67-62, 5 seconds left. Jizzle, deep one. Missed it. Newman, tip, missed it. 67-62, your final score. This is disgusting. This is dirty. This is deceitful. This is disgusting. Welcome into the chat room, everyone. We'll see Houdini in just a minute. That's now 10 straight losses to the Houston Cougars, a program that the Bearcats used to just demolish through the early stages of my life. I wouldn't be shocked if Cincinnati won 15 in a row. In fact, we're going to pull up the all-time series stats. And Kirby, if you're producing behind the scenes, why don't you look at that and throw that up on the screen as I talk about this game? As Houston remains the best team in the Big 12. They look like the best team in the Big 12, and Cincinnati loses their 3rd home game of the season in conference play, joining the likes of Texas and Oklahoma. Let's get right into this thing until Huddy joins. First off, I think we saw early that this was not going to be an Aziz Bandago and Victor Locken type game. They once again start at the 4 and 5 position. Cincinnati goes down. I'm pretty sure they went down a dozen early with that lineup in there. West finally shifts things up. He goes with the 4-guard lineup, puts in Jizzle, John, Dan, Simas, and then has a mixture of Aziz and Jamil running in there. But I thought Jamil looked really good today. One of his better games for Cincinnati, including one of the best tip slams I've seen by a Bearcat since the helicopter. I mean, James White probably had a few, but aside from that, it was pretty nice. He posterized Roberts. Roberts went down. He was hurt a little bit. Tough show. Bengals will be fine next year from Patrick Gray. Championship coming. I agree. But unfortunately, we still have a lot to talk about this Bearcats season. We'll get into Iowa State, who's coming up next in just a little bit. But let's pull up the notes and run through the Bearcats in this one. First of all, the house was absolutely hostile from the opening tip. Zebras were not doing the Bearcats any favors. I thought it evened out midway through the first half, and that's when all the Houston players started getting in foul trouble. They're sitting on the bench. Cincinnati starts making their run and looking like they could potentially sneak out of Fifth Third Arena with an upset victory. It was horrible. What's up, Houdini? Pull off your mic. Talk to me. You're now 0-2 at Fifth Third Arena. You have the task of once again sitting on the floor and giving us bad news.
Yeah, I'm starting to think this is a bad idea, Chuck. Maybe when I'm here, we just have no chance. Can you hear me all right? The band is playing. You know, after a loss, I would have thought we shut down the band entirely until Tuesday, but they're still doing it. Can you even hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great. You sound wonderful. You'll sound even better once the band gets out of there. But yeah, you're one of those diehard fans right now, and you don't have a choice, but you're one of the few diehards that sticks around after a tough, just demoralizing loss, really, that makes it 10 in a row against the Houston Cougars. And you're one of the guys that sits around, listens to the alma mater for a school that you didn't even go to. We're both Ohio Bobcat guys that just happen to be Bearcats fans from age 3. And once again, Houston gets the job done. Let's start the show, the morning show. As you see, we're on StreamYard, everyone, so we don't have the spiffy graphics and the cool intro video to run. So we'll just give it a little 3, 2, 1, so I don't have to sit up all night chopping this thing up and editing it. 3, 2, and 1. All right, everyone, welcome into Chatterbox Bearcats. The mood shifts a little bit as Cincinnati falls to the Houston Cougars. Final score, I don't even have it because, once again, we don't have our spiffy graphics. But Cincinnati loses in the game to the Houston Cougars. Houdini, just get this show back on track. This is what happens every single show, man. And this is why the people tune into the chat room. They're like, after I see the Bearcats fall off the cliff when they had a chance, the only thing I want to do is hop into the chat room and watch Chuck and Houdini struggle with technology, seemingly week in and week out. But welcome into Chatterbox Bearcats. Your opening thoughts.
It's the same thing, dude. It's like Groundhog's Day every time we play. We lost by 5. I think we've lost every Big 12 game by 5 points. And it was in our hands again and just could not finish a game. And we went, I think it was a 19-3 run in the second half. And I'm staring at the scoreboard. We shot 37% from the field. I say it every time. It's a miracle that we're in these games against. This is a top 10 team, possibly a number 1 seed in the tournament. And hey, we play them again. I saw some good things today. I saw Wes adjust, go small, like we've been begging him to do. Again, it wasn't Victor Locken's night, and I was in the arena. People were throwing some booze out when Vic was coming in. I don't know if I'm going that far. As a Big J media member, I can't be booing or anything like that. So keep it professional the whole time. But it was pretty clear it wasn't Vic's night from the jump. But we can't keep doing this, dude. You got to finish a game and win at home. This isn't we win on the road somehow, which is a good sign if we get into March. But this was a win that we needed to have to get off that bubble. And here we are. We're back in it again. The rat race.
It is a rat race. Time's just a flat circle, but the good news is Cincinnati's close. This is what this tells me. They're a few players away, but they're close. They're not even playing great basketball a lot of these games. Like Baylor, take out Dan Skillings. They didn't play great as a team. They had a chance to win it at the end. Houston, they missed a couple of shots today. It's a completely different story. Texas, I didn't think they played. Actually, Texas, I thought they looked pretty damn good. And Dylan Dessou just hit every single shot he took. Oklahoma, the Cats didn't look good. They lose by 4 or 5. This is kind of the story of the season. It's the Bearcats are rising. They're not quite there yet. And if they're not hitting 45% from the floor and above 40% from 3-point range, and if they're not knocking down their free throws, which today they were 72%, 18 of 25 overall, not terrible. They're just good enough to be right there, but they're not good enough to feel like they're seriously going to win this game. Second half, I thought Houston kind of took control. The fact that Cincinnati was in the game late was just because they're fighters, man. They don't quit. They play to the finish, but it felt a lot like the Kansas game where Cincinnati turned a corner in the first half. You're like, damn, we may be really good. Then they kind of revert back to their old ways at times. Kansas, or in this case, Houston, takes the lead, kind of holds on to the lead, and really a similar final score. I will say this, Houdini. Houston, probably 15 minutes or 10 minutes through the first half, was up 14-3 in the rebounding statistic. Do you know what the final was?
I want to say we got out-rebounded by about 8.
No, it was 41-38. It was close. Like, Cincinnati, after the first 15 minutes of the game, proved that they are a really tough team. But that happened when Victor Locken came out of the game. They put Dan Skillings in at the 4. And let's call a spade a spade. That's what we do, man. We call a spade a spade. Locken does not look comfortable out there. And you hate to see it because we all love Vic. He's one of our guys. He's been one of the best players for over a year and a half on this team. And he has a role. But I saw it in the first half. He's in there, and we're shooting a 1-and-1. I think John Newman buries the front end of a 1-and-1, and Vic just turns around. He's on the block. He turns around and starts running to the other side. They're like, no, he's got another one. I mean, Wes should have seen that right away, and it's like, all right, you're coming out. And he adjusted. Second half, Vic only played when Vic had to play. But I feel like everyone in the arena was kind of like, you got to get him out, Wes. You got to get him out. And it just took a while, in my opinion. But again,
thanks,
Wes is coaching pretty well, man.
No, I thought Wes made the right adjustments. He's loyal to a fault a lot of times to his guys. At least he didn't let it bleed into, we're talking second half, Victor Locken's in at the most crucial moments. We saw that in past games. Didn't work out. So at least he made the adjustment. I don't think Victor saw the floor in the second half. And there's a lot of people claiming he can't play at the Big 12 level. I think that's nonsense. We saw him early in Big 12 play. After he got, whatever it was, the swine flu, it almost looks like he forgot how to play. And maybe the worst thing that happened was him hitting those threes early in the season, because now he's acting like he's J.J. Redick out there. And everybody in the entire arena, when he pulls up from three, everyone's silent. They're like, oh, God, no. Please, Vic, don't do it. And he didn't have it today. The nice thing with our depth, especially at the center position, though, we saw Jameel Reynolds have some awesome minutes today. I was really excited about how he played. Aziz was okay. Chuck, check the final stats on Aziz rebounds. I think he had legit 1 rebound.
Final statistic, Aziz Bandega, 1 rebound. 8 points, 1 rebound.
If you're 7 feet tall and you have 1 rebound in an entire basketball game, that's criminal behavior. So that can't happen. I know you said the rebounding statistic was close, but in the most inopportune times, they were getting putbacks. That putback dunk at the end of the game to kind of seal the game. All the 50-50 balls weren't going our way. And don't get me started on that bald ref. As a bald guy, that took the community back decades. He was an abomination, man. Just awful.
Let's talk about the hostile crowd, first of all. That was the most buzz. And first of all, it was the biggest Cincinnati Bearcats crowd at Fifth Third Arena ever, at least new Fifth Third Arena. You getting some claps in the background? Are they celebrating your performance?
Yeah, they just said that was an unbelievable take. Yeah.
Give a little hat tip. Give a little hat tip right now.
Appreciate it, guys. Chatterbox Sports. And subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Join the chat room right now. But, dude, there was some palpable buzz in the arena, first of all. Biggest crowd during the new Fifth Third after the renovations, A. And B, man, it was a hostile crowd from the opening tip. I mean, there was a 5-10 minute segment of real time where it was just booing nonstop. They cut to the commercial break. The band plays for a little bit. They cut back, and they're still booing. Refs weren't good. Did they affect the game early? Absolutely. There were a few plays there where, there was one that should have been an offensive foul. There was another that should have been, I can't remember exactly what it was. I think they fouled Vic on one and then hit a step back 3 with 1 on the shot clock. Wes got teed up after that one. There was no jacket to take off because Wes was wearing the polo. But I was shocked. You remember back in the day that Huggy Bear used to just get ejected for UC? Against UAB, he'd go on the road, and 15 minutes in, UC would be playing awful, and he'd just be like, I'm done. He'd get ejected. I thought this was that type of game where Wes may get ejected early because they looked so bad. They looked so lifeless. Houston was getting every 50-50 ball. The refs were legit terrible. Wes kept his cool, only got the technical. And I'm pretty sure that was a 5-point possession. The difference is 5 points in the game. It comes down to a few baskets here and there. Cincinnati not quite good enough to win this game yet, but we saw signs. Starting with the 4-guard lineup, I thought when Newman and Skillings were on the floor together, the plus minus had to have been better than Houston. I mean, there were moments where we legit looked as good as Houston.
No, absolutely. I'm seeing Wes is currently getting interviewed by our boy Dan.
We can't hear you, bub. We can't hear you. You on mute?
Can you hear me now?
Gotcha. Good.
got me?
Can you hear me now? Like Verizon.
Yes. Can you hear me now? No, he switched to Sprint, man. T-Mobile, actually. No, Wes is currently getting interviewed by our guy Dan Horde and Terry Nelson. God, I wish I could flip the camera. I don't think StreamYard allows me. He's so close to the scorer's table. Wes is like basically on top of it, right in front of Dan Horde's face. It's unbelievable. And, dude, the passion that he has, and I really think that if he wasn't such a likable guy, he'd get teed up more because he gets in their face and just goes nuts. And he's chewing the most gum, humanly possible at the same time. But I love Wes. We've been saying that from the start of this show, man. He's got it. The one thing this team is missing is a finisher in these close games. Where are you going with the ball to get a bucket? And like we said, Jizzle James, I don't know what the final minutes were. He was awesome. I think he only ended up with like 8 points, something around there, but he was one of the guys that you could actually give the ball to and at least get a solid look at the rim. Because Simas didn't have it tonight. He had a bank three and then one crucial three. But we don't have a go-to guy, and we've been saying that forever. We don't have a go-to guy to finish these games, and that's what it comes down to in the final minutes of the game. When it's a two-possession game, you need a go-to guy. You need a Kilpatrick. You need a Cumberland, and this team is still trying to figure out who that guy is. But it's not all – we're not dead yet. We got Iowa State on Tuesday. So we can make up for this loss. I still think we had it in the bag. We can get Lenardi out of his bunker and finally take us off the damn bubble. But here we are. We do this every damn game, I feel like.
3 Bearcats reach double figures. It's Dan Skillings, who had 10 points in the game, but only 3 rebounds. And he had 13 points in the game. 3 rebounds did Dan Skillings. Jizzle James had 10 points, 3 boards. Jameel Reynolds had 8 points, 4 rebounds. The other Bearcat in double figures was John Newman, who had 10 and 10. John Newman, God, the Bearcats are going to miss him next year. If you would have told me that 6 months ago, I would have said, you are crazy. But John Newman is the glue, man. Aziz had the 8 points and the 1 rebound. Victor Locken once again did not score. 0 points in the game. He was 0 of 4 from the floor. He only played 13 minutes. That is a season low for Victor Locken. The confidence clearly gone. We'll see what West does with him moving forward. I mean, at this point, he's got to earn his minutes back. You saw it in the second half, man. He gave him as many minutes as he possibly could. But defensively, he was not anything special, if good at all. And offensively, he didn't even ask for the ball in the middle. He was just lifeless out there. Simas Lukosius had 6. Day Thomas had 7. CJ Frederick played for the first time since December. He only played 2 minutes, did not take a shot in the game. Josh Reed played 1 minute, didn't score. Odi Oguama played 2 minutes and did not score. That rounds out the scoring for Cincinnati. But what was your take on some of the lineup changes in this one? Because we've talked about 2 things all year. We sound like broken records. Number one is, what is this team's identity? We know what this team's identity is. They're a good rebounding team. They're clearly really good defensively, and they play extremely, extremely hard. You got to give it to them. The other thing that's been on our mind all season is the lineup changes, but this is the first time this year where second half started and West just said, screw it. I'm not going with the 5 that started the game. I'm putting Dan Skillings in there, and we're running this thing into the ground. You would have to imagine that this is kind of that turning point where Wes has seen everything he needs to see, and next game, Dan Skillings is your guy that's going to be out there for the bulk of the game, because once again, Dan Skillings, minute-wise, he plays 33. That's really good. It's honestly probably his most minutes he's played all season long. But let's get him up to 35, man. You say play him 40.
No, yeah, dude, I've been saying this forever. We saw Coach K, the GOAT, if you will, in college basketball, consistently would play guys 40 minutes a game. And Dan Skillings is one of those guys, even if he's off shooting the basketball, he didn't even have a great game today. What did he finish, like 4 of 13 from the field? Nothing fantastic. but when he's in the game, good things happen.
4 of 11.
4 of 11, not too bad. Sounds like my stat line, which you don't really necessarily want. But regardless of if he's putting the ball in the hoop or not, he changes the dynamic of the game. And when you were talking about Victor Locken, at worst, if you're not making your shots, cause a little bit of chaos, especially on the boards of the defensive end. And Victor just looked like he was uninterested in being out there. And Dan Skillings has had some duds. I've never seen him look like he's uninterested on being on the basketball court. Same thing with John Newman, man. You're right. You would have told me this 12 months ago, I would have been like, what the hell are you talking about, man? John Newman's the guy. If John Newman wasn't on this team, we'd be in very big trouble. So thank God he didn't actually get seriously hurt after that one injury. And at this point in the year, though, we need to start – there's no moral victories, man. We need to start actually winning the basketball games. You got to beat Houston. We're going to be flirting with this bubble thing all damn year. We get Houston again. The schedule doesn't get much easier. We got to figure out how to close these damn games. We're up 7 points and completely lost all – had no idea how to run an offense. It was amazing. Wes, I'm begging you. He's not over there anymore. I'm begging you to figure out a pick-and-roll defense, man. That is what defensively, we were great. The pick-and-roll thing destroys us as a defense. We don't know if we're switching, staying. We need to have a plan. If you want to double up on the guy coming off the screen, we need something, a strategy against these pick-and-rolls because we have no idea what to do and we get crushed on. Sorry for my rant.
That's now 10 straight losses against Houston. And we were talking about this. I'm going to get up the full stat right here and figure out how many times Cincinnati won in a row from like 1996 to 2017. It was every single time. And now Houston's pulled off 10 straight, which is only over the course of 4 years or so because they consistently meet in the conference tournament. But one of these days, can we get a W over Houston? The last time Cincinnati took down Houston, pre-COVID, Zach Harvey had his breakout game for Cincinnati. There's a little blast from the past. Zach Harvey had a big game. Cumberland willed the way to victory. Keith Williams, Trey Scott had some massive plays, and Cincy took him down. This is the closest Cincy's been because last year there was the game in Houston where UC, I'm pretty sure, went up close to double digits in the game and was right there at the very end. But over the course of the season, you just saw that Cincinnati they were nowhere near Houston. I think this team, they're starting to compete, man. They're getting close. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting close.
No, I mean, we're getting back. Just being in the arena, man, it's night and day. Like, we're getting back to old school, like, people that are just completely, out of control. That's what I like to see when we're at the games. Like, I had grown men, like, just screaming at the refs, just, like, telling them to F off with their like, 6-month-old kid next to them. That's what we want here at UC. Keep it classy a little bit, right? But we need that energy, and it was there. Shout out to my guy wearing a Boomer Esiason jersey. Why, I do not know. He was about a 55-year-old man. He was getting in the student section's face and hyping everyone up. Because after they went on that little run, the crowd, to be honest, actually died down quite a bit. I think E-Train I blame him for half of this. He was up there in 201. He should have the crowd going. But when they went on that little run, we got a little quiet. And thank God we had our guy Boomer Esiason hyping up the student section because we've talked a little bit of shit about the student section, but they were on top of it most of the night or most of the day. So at the end of the day, Chuck, we got to win one of these games, man. We got to win one of these games.
From 2001 to 2018, Cincinnati won 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They won 11 of 12 in this rivalry. Houston, and all the credit in the world to them, Kelvin Sampson, who I am not a fan of whatsoever. Now, do I think he's a bad guy? Is he a cheater? That's up for debate. IU seems to think so. NCAA seemed to think so a long time ago. But very good basketball coach. All you can do is respect him. But, I mean, look at that, man. Look at that. From 75 to 2015, Cincinnati just dominated this series. And Houston has quickly become, I would say, behind the Xavier Musketeers, Cincinnati's biggest thorn. I hate this program. I absolutely hate them. I hate the fact that they replicated what we were doing in the American and just did it a little better. That's real talk. I hate them. I mean, if you talk about my Mount Rushmore of teams I hate the most, I think this team bumps out Louisville. I'd say it's UConn, it's Xavier, and for me personally, it's Syracuse. I couldn't stand Syracuse, but Houston's got to be number 2 right now. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This team is they're tough. They're tough.
It's unbelievable. I was, we're going to the Big 12, and I go, oh, I saw the announcement. I go, thank God. I go, the Houston thing's done. Oh, no. Houston just followed us and still haunts me every damn game. Like, we can't. I'm glad you didn't say it was a rivalry, because, in all honesty, it can't be a rivalry when you lose 10 straight, man. I mean, this is not the same Houston team that was last year, the couple years before. They don't have Jarris Walker. They don't have Marcus Sasser. They still got a lot of guys that are talented. I mean,
yeah, they just reloaded. They may be better.
I don't think so, personally. I thought this was kind of our chance to get one of these, and give credit to them. I think they shot like 39% from the field, nothing great, but they hit some wild shots in the lane, just at the most crucial points of the game. So here we are again, man. I hope CJ Frederick can get back in action, because we need a guy that can put the ball in the hoop from the perimeter, or at least a threat. Because right now we're struggling. I don't know what we finished. What was it, like 6 of 20 from 3? When you're playing Houston, that might not get it done, and it didn't.
No, it did not. Let's go around the Big 12. Iowa State is next up for Cincinnati, and Iowa State's starting to look really good, at least at home, and really throughout Big 12 conference play. They're now 18-5 overall and 14th in the country as they took down TCU 71-59. TCU, one of those teams that is a good win for Cincinnati right now, but they could sneak on the bubble here soon if they keep losing, because that's just the nature of this conference. No one expected them to win that game, though. Iowa State wins it by 12. Kansas beating Baylor right now 25-15. That's the primetime game in all of college basketball, and definitely in the Big 12. 10-point lead right now for Kansas. Texas, how did Cincinnati lose to West Virginia? You want the final score of that one?
Hit me.
94-58 in favor of the Longhorns.
That loss absolutely kills us. We were saying that all year. We had no bad losses, and that one killed us. Quad 3 loss. God, there's so many games that if we don't end up making the tournament, it's going to be tough to look back at the schedule and to go, I mean, my God, we had so many opportunities, but it's still we still got the chance. It sucks. I should be shirtless on Short Vine, acting like I'm in Sig Chi at UC right now, partying because of this win, and unfortunately, the stadium is dead. No court storm today. I was hoping we'd get like a clip of just absolute chaos of me trying to do this podcast in the midst of a court storm. We didn't get it, man. What can you do?
No, we didn't even get the graphics or anything. Instead, what I got was the ring light that's in the background. It fell and broke, so I got to get a new one. Couldn't get the camera up in time. Couldn't get the vMix working. So it's a disaster in that sense. But we did do a new Chatter intro video, and Kirby's going to tell us in the chat if he has it ready to go, and we'll put that up at the very end there. But let's talk about the next matchup, Iowa State. Trey King, one of the really good players on that team, started off at Eastern Kentucky under A.W. Hamilton, a guy that's from Lexington, Kentucky. He had 15 points in the game. He averages 10-5 for that team. Not their best player by any means, but he's really solid for that team. Gilbert, I think, is a good player. Keshawn Gilbert averages 14 points, 5 rebounds. He's a 6'4 guard, someone that John Newman's going to potentially contain. And then when you look at Trey King, the way that he plays, it's probably a combo of Skillings and then maybe Jameel Reynolds as well down low. So matchup-wise, at least off first glance, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a big Cyclones fan. Only a Cincinnati Cyclones fan, not an Iowa State Cyclones. But I've seen enough of them to know that I think Cincinnati will match up with them pretty well. I thought Cincinnati, most of this game, matched up pretty well with Houston, man. I mean, there were times in the first half where Houston was throwing up garbage after that first 10-minute stretch or so. But not enough to get it done at the end of the day. Not enough to get it done after a slow start.
No, I mean, the nice thing about this UC team is the depth is very deep. Where you start to get questionable is where do you give the minutes to, right? Because we have such a deep roster that I think we can really match up based on manipulating the lineups, we could almost match up with anybody in the country. I mean,
and I'm gonna interrupt you here. That's
Yeah.
why I thought that going into this game, like if you would have said, knowing Houston, what they've been the last 5 years and what you've seen of them this year, who would have been the smarter option down low tonight, Jameel Reynolds or Aziz? Who would have been the smartest of the three?
So I personally like having Jameel come off the bench and giving us a little lift as far as offensive, because defensively he's not necessarily great. And I know Aziz did not rebound well today. Not really a great game in general, but it is so palpable watching him on the court. They changed the way that they drive to the rim. They will not throw up those bullshit floaters when Aziz is in the paint. So he's a guy that you need to have, I think, on the court. I like, give me pick your poison. Give me either Jameel. You know, if Locken has it, let Locken play. But he didn't have it today. But 1-5. I don't necessarily love Odie. Came in, gave us a little energy today. I don't need to see Odie and Aziz on the floor. Literally ever.
Houdini, sit your ass back down. The lights are just blinding you. Find a seat, take a seat, stay here for a while. Atmosphere-wise,
there's too many lights in here, dude.
Is that one of the loudest games you've been into? Fifth Third Arena history?
I'm not going to go that far. I would say when we were on that run, it's about as loud as I've heard it. For an overall game, I say no, though. I think we kind of shit the bed at the end of the game. When they went on a little run, the crowd died. Like I said, the student section was dead. No one was saying anything. And yeah, Boomer Esiason, Jersey guy, was the only guy trying to hype the entire crowd up. So I think there's room for improvement, honestly. But during that first half, I know it's overused, but it was an electric factory here at Fifth Third Arena. I just wish when the going gets tough that we stick with it, right? And the fans kind of died out a little bit in that second half on that run. So I don't think it helped us.
I guess the silver lining, there's no more silver linings. We've had bad basketball for years. It's time to start winning these games at home, regardless of who you're playing. I mean, TCU, they took down Houston at home. Not many teams have taken down Houston. They've lost 3 games this season. Let's get real. This is not one you expected to win. That's
Houston's
why you were
very
5.5-point underdogs. Man, Cincinnati's, they're covering the spread. What's their record now in the Big 12 against the spread? Have they covered every game?
They didn't cover. They were favored. No, their home games, they were favored, I think, in most of those. And they blew those. They are, I know for a fact that they're spotless on the road in the Big 12. Apparently, we're the road dog, or the road cats, excuse me. Because they
didn't cover against West Virginia. They didn't cover against West Virginia on the road, I wouldn't imagine.
Right. No, they didn't. They lost. They were favored. But you got to protect home court. I guess if you had to, gun to head, what would I prefer, us winning games on the road or losing all the games on the road and only winning at home? I'll take, the winning on the road, because that, once you get into March, newsflash, you're not going to be at Fifth Third Arena. So I'll take that. But you got to get a couple of these games at home. I mean, holy hell. I don't know what's the unfortunately, I don't have like a laptop on me or anything. What's the record for UC at home in the Big 12 right now? Come on, Chuck. You're the stat guy. Pull it up.
I mean, we know how many they've won at home. They've won 1 at home. They beat TCU at home. No, they beat UCF. So it's 2 and 3. 2 and 3 at home.
Yeah, that can't happen. That's why we're going to be on the bubble the whole damn year. And I try to interact with Lenardi as little as possible, but now I have to literally have notifications on for when he pops up his little updated bracket, and UC is just flirting between
there's like 75 bracketologists, right? You could switch. Like, you don't have to look at Joe Lenardi's.
Hate him or love him, Joe's the guy. It's that simple. I'm not the biggest fan, but he's the guy. He has the brand. He's the dude you got to go to, even though I think he's like percentile wise like one of the worst as far as the bracketologists. But I love Lenardi. I love this dude. So I mean, hey, we keep saying silver lining, but if Xavier would have beat Creighton today, it would have been a even tougher scenario as a UC fan. So, we're going to keep doing this, man. Every damn game is going to be the same thing. Iowa State's going to be an absolute battle again. Like you were saying, I think we match up well, though. We can absolutely win the game. Can we finish the game? We'll see.
Chance for Cincinnati to finally reel off a couple in a row in the Big 12, which they have not done this year. They have not won 2 in a row. They had a chance to win 3 in a row had they taken down West Virginia, but that's hindsight at this point. But Iowa State at home, then it's UCF on the road, Oklahoma State at home. Let's break it down stanza by stanza. This 3-game stanza, you got to go 2-1, right? You got to take down Oklahoma State and one of 2 between UCF and Iowa State, because both of those would be quad 1 wins.
I'll be honest, Chuck, the word stanza is really throwing me off.
Thinking of George?
I'm thinking of Costanza from Science, whatever. Yes, I do think 2-1. What is it? We got Iowa State, and then we follow up with who?
Central Florida on the road, then at home against Oklahoma State.
Oh, yeah, no question. You have to go 2-1 there. And a lot of people are going to try to fly over the UCF game on the road. That is going to be an absolute battle. 100%. UCF is a solid team. I think that I'd have to check the updated net rankings, but that could even be a quad 1 win on the road, which would be massive for UC. But you got to get 1 of 2 between Iowa State and Central Florida, and you absolutely cannot lose to Oklahoma State. You can't do it. We saw it happen against West Virginia. We have the ability to lose to Oklahoma State. Can't happen. That'll be a resume ruiner if we lose.
That's where your bubble bursts, man. That's where the bubble is literally popped on the spot, regardless of what you do the last 5 games of the season, because you don't have that many chances. Kansas State at home's not a huge win with the way Kansas State's been playing, although they did take down Kansas, so you never know. And then West Virginia at home's not the biggest one in the world. And Houston on the road, you're probably not going to win that game. Let's be realists here. So you'd have to win one at TCU or Oklahoma. You'd have your work cut out for you if you don't beat Iowa State. I'm seeing it in the chat right now. Iowa State is a must win. It is. That game's on Tuesday, February 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, Fifth Third Arena. That's this upcoming Tuesday. Must win basketball in Cincinnati. Let's go to the next stanza. It's TCU, it's Houston, it's Kansas State, it's Oklahoma, it's West Virginia. Of those 5, you got to win one of those road games between TCU, Houston, and Oklahoma. I don't care which one it is. They're all quad 1 wins on the road. You got to win one of them. And then you have to take care of business at home against Kansas State and against West Virginia, and you have a shot because 8 wins is the goal here. 8 wins could probably get you in. We'll definitely have you sweating on Sunday, which we will take with the way the season's gone thus far. And let's just point out the wins potentially. Iowa State would make it 5. Let's say they lose to UCF. Oklahoma State could make it 6. West Virginia would make it 7. And then between TCU, Houston, Oklahoma, and Kansas State, you win one of those. And, I mean, the path is right there. Even if you lose to Iowa State, the path is still potentially there. But the Bearcats are going to have to continue to be good on the road because the home games are slowly dwindling. 2 of them against Oklahoma State and West Virginia. That's not going to do shit for your resume.
You have to win. I mean, apparently that's not the case. I mean, we've all seen where you bet on a ranked team on the road and they always lose. They always lose. That's usually how it goes. And UC's doing the exact opposite. So we got to figure something out. You got to win a couple of these at home because it's much more difficult. I mean, I guess I got to talk to UC's team because they don't seem to give a shit when they travel. They'll play just as good, if not better, on the road. But you got it. If we don't beat Iowa State, then we're on the outside looking in 100%. Then we have an uphill battle. If we can win that game, then everything's in front of us. If you win the games you're supposed to, you probably slide into the tournament. But hey, at least I pray. I want to at least feel the feeling of sweating on Selection Sunday, which I haven't felt for a long time, man.
Just want to change my shirt. I mean, God forbid, yes. A couple guys want to change their shirts and you get the microfiber towel and, wipe off the beads of sweat on Sunday as the Bearcats get in with a 10-11 seed. We knew this was going to be a transitional year. Going into the Big 12, how good would the Bearcats be before Big 12 play even started, midway through the year after the out-of-conference ended? People said this team's going to win 3-4 games. They've already won 4 games. They're not a bad basketball team. They're on the rise, but they're just missing a little something right now. You say it's a closer. I say it's just some consistency. I mean, there were moments of this game where they looked nearly as good as Houston. Even when they weren't making shots, just defensively, they were fighting hard enough to where this was always within striking distance. The positives for me, Jizzle James, superstar. Dan Skillings is starting to become a go-to guy that's playing, now 33 minutes in this game. And I thought Simas Lukosius, once again, looks like a mainstay out there, getting 34 minutes. And Jameel Reynolds and John Newman, more positives for this team. We got to figure out what's going on with Victor Locken. CJ Frederick joins the fold, only plays 2 minutes. That's expected. Coming back from an injury that's had him out since late December. We'll see what CJ brings to the fold moving forward. It was good seeing him get a great standing ovation from the Fifth Third Arena crowd. But, let's give you the last positive. That crowd was electric. Cincinnati Bearcats basketball is fun again. Unfortunately, these post-game shows are not that fun because I hate the Houston Cougars more than I hate anything. I respect the hell out of them as a program. Respect the hell out of what Sampson's done. But my God, I hate that guy. And that's now 10 straight losses to the Houston Cougars, many of them at home. It's tough.
God, it is tough. Me and Kelvin Sampson locked eyes, too, a couple times. And he knew he had me by the balls, man. I'm like, God, you own me, dude. Every time I see that guy, I walk out of the arena with an L. And because, realistically, you're right. Our two biggest, quote-unquote, rivals or biggest games right now, it's Xavier and Houston, and we have just been getting annihilated by these teams. Maybe we could claim UCF. I know UCF wants to act like we have a rivalry. Sure. I guess us and UCF, big rivals. I don't give a shit about UCF in any capacity. Taco Fall, legend in my eyes, but maybe we need to start a new rivalry because we cannot. Houston and Xavier have our numbers unlike any team that I've seen. Historically, I know Louisville back in the day had us. Maybe we started up again with Kenny Payne because I don't think we're losing that game.
No, we were actually supposed to play them one year, and they canceled the rivalry. I think it had something to do with COVID, but obviously we saw what happened in Maui.
We played them last year. We won by 30.
we beat their ass in Maui. Not saying much, but yeah, Cincinnati falls in the game. We'll plug this into the beginning of the podcast. We'll redo it so I don't have to edit everything together. Welcome to Chatterbox Bearcats, everyone. Cincinnati falls to Houston, 67-62. All right, there's your final score from Fifth Third Arena. The Chatter Podcast, we have great guests. We have interesting topics. We have color commentary that you can only hear from the Chatter. It's unbiased. No, it's very biased. It's a very biased show, but we'll say it's unbiased and definitely unfiltered. Nick Kirby, roll the tape. We got a new intro video. Appreciate everyone for joining. The audio podcast, if you missed some of this, drops the morning after every single game. It's on to Iowa State on Tuesday. Must win ball game. Subscribe to the Chatter.
Yep. We're going to miss you so much. You've done such a wonderful job. Yeah, nice job.
Why do people voluntarily choose to live here?
Let's kick this guy's ass. This guy seriously looks like a penis.
All right, when do we see you back on the air again?
What if I told you that change is inevitable? That dreams come and go? What if I told you that the past paved the way for the present?
That's not very PC. Imagine if it was a one-legged man and they're like, oh, there goes Pogo Stick.
I just waited an hour and a half for this funnel cake.
Home to the heated MySpace Top 5.
I was going to do soup, and then I realized that would make me the biggest douche on planet Earth.
Chuck did take down Miles McBride in a game of basketball.
I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you guys that dub.
Entertaining guests only.
Are we allowed to cuss on this show? Is that okay?
You're allowed to say whatever the you want, Sean. You can say whatever you want.
I'm no GM, but give me Lorenzo Neal on a lifetime contract.
So the fullback position, I like to call it the old onion position.
Hitting a baseball is probably the single most difficult thing to do in sports.
If we could just get a small soundbite saying they got to go to the Final Four or
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
All right.
They're the bad boys of broadcasting.
Instagram handicappers, we're alphas.
The take artist kings of the Midwest.
I'm not worried about the Chiefs. I'm more worried about Joe Flacco.
Telling stories.
I'm scared of the cold tub, man.
Telling tales.
Now the Halloween guys are like, I don't know what to do. They're like, get big Buzz Lightyear with rock hard.
With a whole bunch of chatter.
Where is he?
The Chatterheads have spoken.
You guys are awesome. To be on this podcast, fun. I'll do this anytime. I love this, man.